Okay. Okay. So if you remember in our last session, we started with SAP Activate methodology and we discussed about the end-to-end methodology which consists of different phases, okay, different work streams. And I told you SAP Activate is not only the methodology, but it is a combination of three different things. The first one being the methodology itself, which we discussed in detail. I showed you the link where you can go and find out more content from. Second was best practices. Okay, and third one was guided configuration. So we discussed guided configuration is something which is mostly available in the cloud solutions. As of now, we don't have much of guided configuration available in on-premise system. But the third one, that is the best practices, I told you I will share the link with you where you can find more details on what are the best practices. Okay, so the link which you are able to see now, the page which you are able to see now, this is nothing but the best practices explorer screen. So let me take you to the home page first of all, and then I will ping you this on your chat screen. Okay, it is also available in my slides. So in my PPT, which I already shared with you, you will also find this particular uh, link. Okay, so now what is SAP Best Practices Explorer? Okay, this is a link which will connect you to this particular site where you will be able to see the best practices which are provided by SAP. So best practices is not a new thing. Even in SAP ECC also there were some places where we can go and we can find the best practice content. Okay, best practices tells you how system is delivering the standard functionalities. Okay, so just for example, we want to see the best practices explorer for SAP S4HANA. Similarly, you can see the best practices explorer for solution manager, you can go for partner solutions, but let's focus on SAP S4HANA. So if I click on this, it will give us list of 10 different solution packages which are available. Okay, so the first one is SAP best practices for SAP S4HANA on-premise system. Then you have the best practices available for analytics, best practices for EWM, that is extended warehouse management, best practices for extended financial planning, rapid deployment solution, for Hybris, for Ariba, for success factors. Okay, so in short, this is giving you the list of all the different best practices which are available from SAP. Okay, but we are interested in the best practices for SAP S4HANA. So if I click on this, okay, so it will give you the latest version available. So as of now, SAP S4HANA 1809 is the latest version available. Okay, and you must be knowing that the best practices comes in country and language version. Okay, so for example, currently the best practice content that we are looking at is for Germany and for SAP S4HANA 1809 in English language. But if you want to change this, you can always go and change the regional and language preferences. So let's say I want to see the best practices content for India. So definitely it will tell you the content which is relevant to the regulations, rules and regulations related to India. Okay, so but most of the things will be common, only the taxation part you will be finding a little bit different. Okay, so in SAP best practices for SAP S4HANA, you will again find the list of scope items or scope item groups. So what are scope item groups? These are nothing but modules. Okay, so best practices for finance, best practices for HR, best practices for sales, manufacturing, procurement, supply chain. So for each and every module, you will find the solution scope group. Okay, so again, let's say we are interested in finance. So if I click on finance, it will tell you the best practices for a particular functionality within SAP accounting. So for example, accounting and financial close, which is related to the period end activities. Advanced accounting and financial close, this is related to the new activities which are only available in S4HANA when it comes to periodic accounting. Then you have cost management and profitability analysis. you have enterprise risk compliance. So this finance doesn't mean only our FI module. Finance actually means FI, FSCM, even CO. There are a lot of things which are available within the same folder. So let's say we want to see what is available in, let's go to the financial operations. Okay, so within financial operations, we have our normal modules that we use in FI. So accounts payables, account receivables, basic credit management. Okay, you can see direct debit. So these are some of the scenarios which SAP is saying that these are already provided in the base practice content. So for example, if I want to understand accounts payables, let's click on accounts payable. Now in accounts payable, you will find some description. Okay, so what exactly is accounts payable and all those things which you don't need to worry. Let's click on business benefits. In the business benefits, it will tell you how accounts payable can help you in your business. Okay, which is again good for when you want to convince a new customer to go for SAP. You can show them these are the benefits of using SAP S/4HANA when it comes to AP. Okay, and then you have this process flow diagram also. Okay, so what is the process flow diagram? Normally, when we create a business blueprint document or a solution document, we always create uh, this kind of graphs, not exactly graph, figures to tell the customer how exactly the process will work. Okay, so SAP already provided you the standard flow of the processes. So if you remember, I told you in SAP Activate methodologies, when we discussed that in SAP Activate methodology, in the very first phase, you need to make sure that you have a trial system available. And then you are going to conduct the workshops with the end users. So during the workshops, if you include this flow diagrams, it will be very easy for the customers to understand how exactly the system will work. Okay, so how the payment approval workflow works in the standard system, how you can reset and reverse the clearings, how you can make the down payments, what is the process. So each and everything is clearly explained in this workflow diagram, as well as there is a proper documentation also available for this with the steps. So if you, let's say for example, if you want to go for online payment, or maybe let's say if you want to go for, yeah, invoice. No, this is also payment. Let me take you to the simple scenario where I can explain you what you can get from the system. Let's go to the down payment. Now, if you want to make a down payment, here it is just specified you need to create a down payment request, which then can be converted to the down payment. Then you create an invoice, then you post the outgoing payment, remaining payment, and then you clear the items. So even these steps are provided as a Word document. In the Word document, you will be able to know each and everything, who is responsible for down payment, which role you need in standard SAP to assign it to the user so that he is able to actually use these transactions, and which Fiori app will be used. Each and everything, whatever best practices are provided by SAP for SAP S/4HANA, those are provided from Fiori screens, not using the traditional screens. Okay, but if you go here, unfortunately, we are not able to see that Word document. The reason is we are still not logged in into the system. So the link which I shared with you, if you just go to that link and provide your user ID and password, you'll be able to see one more document, which is a Word document. If you click on that Word document, it will give you the complete details of end-to-end process, how it works. Okay, but there is another way, which I will show you. You can access that document by logging into your SAP S/4HANA system. Also, if the base practice content is activated. Okay, so just give me a minute. Let me show you this thing directly in the system. So if I connect to the system, now in this particular system 1809, we are still not activated the base practice content, but it is available here. Currently, I'm logging to the 1610 system. Just give me a minute. Sorry, I think I'm doing it wrong. I think this is the 1610. Yeah, I think this is a 1610. So let me try to log in here and show you. Oh, I think this is not working. Okay, no problem. So what I'll do is I will try to activate the base practices for this system itself. Let's see. So if I go for sorry, this is my user ID, password. Once I connect to the server, there is a transaction called as /smb/bbi. Okay, if this is not working, you need to follow the same way which I told you last time. You go to SE93, just say /smb/bbi. Okay, so this is the transaction and just click on test. Okay, this screen will take you to something called as solution builder. In this solution builder, currently you can see there is nothing activated. But if I want to activate the base practices content here, what I can do is, let me just try, because normally this activity will be done by your basis. Okay, so let's go to, no, I don't need to import anything. Okay, I'm just trying. If it is working, okay. Otherwise, maybe by next session I will make it ready. So import solution from reference content, I think. Yes. So these are the standard contents which are available with different languages. You can see this is for US, this is for I think Taiwan, this is for Singapore. So let's go with US itself. Let's double click on this. Okay, please don't do this on your actual system. This is the test system. We can do anything what we want, but in the production system, normally this activity should be done by basis. It will bring all the base practice content on this server. Okay, only content. It is not going to activate anything. It will just bring the content. Okay, so let's go back. Yes. Now if you see this content, you can see everything. If you want to know sale from stock, if you want to know accounts payable, account receivable, all this content is activated now. So if I double click on anyone, let's say I want to go for accounts payable. If I double click on this, it will give me this message because it is going to open this screen in the browser. So just click on allow. Okay, you can see this screen will open in the browser, but it is still missing those Word documents. Let's see why. Just give me a minute. Let's try anything else. If I go for basic credit management, maybe. I think they removed this links from 1809. I'm just trying this. 1610. Enter. Let's see if something comes. No. Okay, let's try if I can import for 1610 the content for 1610 instead of 1809. So again, if I go to solution, if I go to import the solution from the reference content, and let's see if star 16 star. No, I'm not able to bring that. Actually, I wanted to just show you one Word document. Okay, if you click on that Word document, it will give you the step-by-step process, what you need to do. Okay, which app you need to click on to create a invoice, which app you will be using to make a payment. Okay, so it was actually available on 1610 server. So normally I use that, but today that server is not working. So I think now SAP has removed that particular thing from here. Let me try one more last time. Otherwise, maybe tomorrow's session I'll show you. Okay, so normally in this side, you will be able to see three documents. One is process flow diagram, and second is the Word document. And that Word document I wanted to show you. Let me just give it a last try. If I go to Google for J60 PDF or maybe Word document, SAP. Let's try this. Okay, although this is something else, it is one EG, this is some other process, but I just want to show you this kind of Word document will be available. Yes, exactly, this kind of Word document. Now this is for create payment medium and download file. This is actually related to uploading of bank statement, bank integration with file interface, right? So in this same way, SAP will provide you the document for each and every process in the best practice content. So you can see now, it consists of the purpose of this document. So what is the purpose? Purpose is it will tell you how to create a bank integration with the file interface. Okay, what are the prerequisites? Which system access you can use? What are the roles? Very importantly, which roles you need to assign it to the user to carry out this task. So you can see these are two important roles. So if the user has no authorization to this role, this means he will not be able to process these transactions. He will not be able to use this Fiori apps. Okay, and then the entire process. So from here, so first activity is you have to create a payment medium. How will you create that? So for this, you will be going to just a minute. Yeah, you will be going to transaction or app manage payment media. Okay, in the manage payment media, again, what are you going to enter? Each and everything, step by step is mentioned. Enter the selection criteria and click on execute. Get a reference number. Okay, download the file. So each and everything is provided, and this document can serve as a purpose of UAT document also. Okay, so you can see this is expected result, and this is the result whether it is pass, fail, or commit. So let's say you are working on the implementation project. Okay, and definitely during the implementation project, you need to create the different test cases. So SAP has now provided the standard test cases by default. You don't need to work on creating any Word documents for the test cases. You can directly use these test cases, and you can just get the information in the form of pass, fail, or any comments. Okay, so that is the reason SAP is saying that if you follow the best practices, there is a lot of content which is provided by SAP itself. So you don't need to carry out the activities which are not productive. You should only focus on making sure that the customer's requirements are meeting the SAP system, with the SAP system. Okay, any questions? So in short, we discussed in SAP Activate methodology, there are three parts. First one is methodology, which consists of different phases. Second is base practice content, which has shown you how to activate a base practice content and how to see the data in that. And third one is the guided configuration, which is only available in cloud solution as of now. Any question before we go to the next topic? No question? Okay.
Gaurav,
Yes.
so these documents, like, it will be available for only business people, or like
No, as
currently,
I
like,
told you, if you try to log in with your user ID and password, as user ID and password, I think you will be able to, again, see, SAP is keeping on changing the things. Earlier, they were available to all. So even if you don't log in, you were able to access the documents. Then they said no, now the login is mandatory. So earlier, with the login, at least they were available. And then third one is from the system. If you are activating and if you are double clicking on that, at least we were able to see that document in that link also. But now again in 1809, they removed that whole document. So they are keeping on making a lot of changes. So what is my recommended? This one is maybe if you are able to log in, make sure that you download that document and keep it with you. Don't be dependent on SAP that every time we will go to that link and we will copy the document when it is required, because till that time it may not be available at all.
okay, Gaurav.
Okay, so let me close all these things. And now let's come to our next topic. So I think whatever theoretical discussions we need to have, we understood why SAP HANA is faster compared to the traditional databases. We understood why we need SAP S4 HANA, like what are the benefits of SAP S4 HANA for business as well as IT when it is compared to SAP ECC. Then we had one overview session on SAP Fiori, what exactly is SAP Fiori, how to activate the apps and how to use the apps, what are the different kind of apps and all, right? And the last one that we discussed is SAP Activate methodology, which has three different components. First one is the methodology itself, second is you have the best practice content, and third one is the guided configuration. Now we will go into the practical system and we will understand what has been changed from the finance point of view. Okay, so what is a universal journal table? What are those contents and all? Those things will come now. Okay, so before we go into the system and perform any activity, definitely we need the enterprise structure. So although there is no change in the way how you create a company code and all, but still we need to create it, because then only we will be able to understand what things are changed. So quickly, I'll take 10 to 15 minutes in configuring each and everything from scratch. Okay, so I'll go to SPRO, IMG. Okay, and we will start with the enterprise structure. The first thing that we normally do is create a company code. So I'll go to financial accounting and create a company code. Okay, so everything is same. Whatever you were able to see in SAP ECC, most of the things are as it is. If you are finding anything different, please stop me and please ask me what is this. Then I'll be able to explain you. But according to me, there are no changes in this company code and all. Okay, so let's say company code which I'm creating, it's created as SF01. Okay, you can provide your own name also. Priyanka, can you mute yourself? There is some background noise. Yeah, thank you. Okay, and then let's say city is Mumbai, country is IN, currency is INR, and language is EM. Okay, now see, the screen you are able to see is little bit different, right? And this is not because of SAP S4HANA and all. It is just because of this new logon pad. We are using the logon pad 7.5. Okay, so even on SAP S4HANA, you can use the old logon pads. You can use 7.3, 7.4, whatever you were using earlier. It will still work as it is. Only the color combination and design will be the same as that we were using in SAP ECC. Okay, so if I try to save this now, same as ECC, it will ask you to edit the address information. So this is a company, the code is SF01. Maybe in the search term also we will just write SF01. I'm just maintaining the mandatory fields, but same as SAP ECC, if some fields are mandatory, you need to enter those. Okay, so English, sorry, country, and just click on create. Okay, so this has created a company code. Now our company code is ready. Okay, otherwise, if you go for business area, functional area, FM area, segment, profit center, everything is as it is. There is no change at all. We will talk about whenever we need to create them. Okay, and once the financial accounting part is done, which means the enterprise structure is created, what we need to do now is we need to assign the global parameters to this company code. Okay, so for that, I will go to financial accounting. Okay, now let me tell you one more thing here. If you are working in SAP ECC, in some of the systems, I'll not say in all the systems, there were two options. Financial accounting and financial accounting new. In the bracket, there was new. Can anyone tell me what was the difference between the two? What was financial accounting and what was financial accounting new?
Financial accounting new, it is, I think, new general ledger is activated.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So financial accounting new means new general ledger accounting. So in 2005, SAP came up with the concept of new GL accounting. So there were some customers, even in SAP ECC today also, who are still not using new GL accounting. They are using classic GL accounting. Okay, and in SAP ECC itself, there was an option that if a customer wants to move from classic GL accounting to new GL accounting, there was a complete process of doing that. And if you want to use the old transactions, if you want to use the classic GL accounting, we were going into financial accounting. And if you want to go for new GL accounting, then we were going for financial accounting and new. Now, here there is no new, but this doesn't mean that we are going to classic GL accounting. This is not a classic GL accounting. This is actually the new GL accounting on SAP S/4HANA. But why this new is not appearing? Because there is no option now. Earlier in ECC, there were two options. Either you are using classic GL accounting or you are using new GL accounting. But when it comes to SAP S/4HANA, classic GL accounting component is not available at all. Only new GL accounting is available. And that is the reason there is no confusion. You don't need to tell the system whether I'm using new GL or old GL. That is the reason there are no different folders, only one folder which will consist of all the financial accounting related information. Okay, and now if I go for financial accounting global settings, let's go to the global parameters for company code and click on enter global parameters. So the company that we created is SF01. Let's double click on this. Now at least we need to create a chart of account. We need to create a fiscal year variant. We need to create a field status variant, and we need to create a posting period variant. Other things are optional, but at least these four things we need to maintain for this company code global data. Okay, so let's go with one by one. Let's create a chart of account, fiscal year variant, field status variant, and posting period variant. Okay, so I don't think we need to create a fiscal year variant separately because there is no change. So what I can do is I can directly assign the fiscal year variant as K4. You can assign V3 also, it is up to you. Let's do it V3 instead of K4. Okay, so there is no change in the fiscal year variant. There is no change in the field status variant also. So maybe this one also we can use as 0001, which is something which is provided by SAP standard field status variant. Okay, and just click on save. So other two things, chart of account and posting period variant, let's discuss them in detail.
So, hello.
Yes, Akash.
Sir, please open this screen, global parameter screen.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So what is the company code is productive? What is the meaning of company code productive?
Okay. See, company code productive is you can tick it here, or there is an option here also where you say set company code to productive. Now, what does it mean is, please be very, please pay the attention, because this is a question which nobody would be able. Is anyone who can answer this question? Is this a new thing? This thing is
No,
available for more than 20 years now, but there are a lot of consultants who are completely like they completely ignored it, and nobody knows what exactly this option is. So anyone who can answer this, what do you mean by set company code to productive?
sir, as per my opinion, if we can set company code is productive, so we can't delete any GL in the system.
Okay, any GL or anything else?
Or otherwise we can't set any type of vendor or customer can't delete. So we can set as a deletion flag in the system.
Okay, okay. Anyone else who wants to answer this? Akash is correct, but I'll give the full definition. But anyone who wants to answer it? Priyanka, Prashant, Mahesh, Varun.
Gaurav. So
Sorry.
from my perspective also, the company code productive is when we move when our entire configuration is done and the company code is ready to be used in production box, then we set this company code to be productive. And as Akash has said that we cannot do any modification in terms of deletion of any GL accounts or anything. So this set company code to productive means this is ready to use in production box.
Okay. So yeah, maybe let's assume that Akash is correct and you are also correct. Now tell me how many of you actually set this indicator. Once everything is done, how many of us we set this indicator? Priyanka, in your last project, have you set this indicator?
It happens once. So it happens once the live go live. It's a part of the cutover activity, Gaurav, I can say.
No, but I'm just asking you. You are part of many projects, right? You are part of projects. In
Mm-hmm.
how many projects in
No,
the
I am
cutover?
personally not set.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. So no problem. Let me explain what this is. So what Akash said is completely correct. The thing is, till the time, let's say we created company code SF01, okay, and let's say we need to do a lot of things in this system. Okay, we will be creating we will be configuring the system, we will be creating the master data, we will be doing the transactions. But let's say due to some reason, whatever we are creating, let's say this was created just for the test purpose. Okay, and maybe we want to refresh everything. Sometimes there is a requirement that we want to refresh everything. What do you mean by refresh? Refresh means whatever transaction data was created, let's delete it. Whatever master data was created, let's delete it. Okay, so if you want to delete the transactional data, if you want to delete the master data, this tick has to be unticked. Okay, so for example, do you know which transaction we use to delete the master data and the transactional data? We use OBR2, right? Am I right? Let me see. OBR2. Yeah, so deleting the master data. Let's say I want to delete the customers, I want to delete the vendors, I want to delete the GL accounts. Now, if I am trying to delete a customer for which there is already transactional data, so first I need to delete the transactional data, and then only system will allow me to delete the master data. But before I delete the transactional data, system will go and check if this tick, okay, what we are talking about, whether the company code is productive or not. So which means if a company code is productive, accidentally, you, let's say mistakenly, whatever name you call it as, system will not allow you to delete anything which is already created or posted in the system. because system is assuming now system is no more in the test mode. It is actually running in the production mode, and if you delete any data in the production system, it may create a lot of inconsistencies, right? And that is the reason once we complete all our configurations, once we go live, the last activity that we should do is we go here and we say company code is productive. But again, why I'm asking this question is normally nobody cares about this tick. Many projects, even if you see the companies who are using SAP from last 20-25 years, they are also they don't tick this. There are only few customers who are actually taking this indicator. Now call it as a problem or maybe just the avoidance, but this is practical thing what is happening in the industry, and I don't think there is any problem for that also, because normally this OBR1, OBR2 transactions are only given to the consultants. So if they are deleting it, there is something, the purpose is in their mind, right? So that is the whole purpose of this particular option. But this is not a new thing. This is available in SAP ECC also. Right, Akash? Akash, are you there?
Hello.
Yes, Akash.
Yes, yes, sir. Actually, as you said, okay. And recently, I have done in my client this activity.
Yeah, good, good. If you are done, see, even if you are done, there is no side effect, because let's say, for example, after a few months, you realize that I need to refresh my master data or transactional data, but because I have ticked this, it may not allow. So it is easily reversible. You can always go back, you can untick that indicator, and then you can carry out the activities that you want. Okay, so it is
Yeah.
always a good practice to tick that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go to creation of chart of account. Okay, so if I close this, the chart of account is always available in general ledger accounting, even in ECC also. So let's go to general ledger accounting, and here in master data, GL accounts, preparations, and you have this edit chart of account list. Okay, so let's click on this edit chart of account list and click on new entries. Okay, so I'll provide the chart of account as again SF01. This is also SF01. Maintenance language you can specify same as ECC. Even the number of length of the GL account is still the same. It is of 10 characters maximum. Even the group chart of account field was there in ECC. Okay, so there is no change in the group chart of account. In the country chart of account, they remain as it is. This block indicator was also available in ECC. This is again the same purpose, that if you are in the testing mode and you don't want to make any changes, so you can click on the block mode so that no company code can use it. Okay, but if it is unblocked, let's say you want to use it practically in the system now, you normally unblock it and start assigning to your company codes. Okay, so again, in short, no change, but there is one field which was available in ECC, which is no more available in this screen. Can you just tell me which is that field? If you compare this with ECC screen, there was one more field here. Anybody remembers which was?
Creation of cost elements.
Yes, creation of cost elements. Whether the cost elements will be created manually or they will be created automatically by the system. Do you remember, all of you? There was an option here whether the cost element will be created automatically or manually. Now that option is not available, because in SAP ECC, GL accounts and cost elements, these were two different master data. They were independent of each other, right? And that is the reason whenever you are creating a GL account, and if you want to create this GL account also as a primary cost element, you need to go to different screen to create it. Okay, we were going to transaction KA01, or maybe in FS00 itself, there was a button to edit the cost element. But now GL account and cost elements are merged together to create one single master data. And that is the reason you don't need to specify that creation of cost element is manually or automatically. Okay, so when we'll create the GL accounts, you will come to know in detail like how exactly these two things are merged together. Okay, so as of now, just click on save. So we just created a chart of account. And obviously, once the chart of account is created, we will code and assign this chart of account to our company code, which is SF01. And let's assign this to SF01. As I told you, no change in country chart of account. It remains exactly as it was. Okay, let's go back. Let's create the account groups. Okay, again, account groups, same functionality. What is the purpose of account groups? What does it control? Anyone who wants to answer this? What is controlled by the account groups?
It defines the segment in the balance sheet. So as P&L account, balance sheet account, cash account, material account, and also we can give the number ranges to that.
Okay, number ranges is correct, but what else? One more thing which is controlled by the account groups. First one is correct. What else is controlled by the account group? Because
The fields in the GL account.
yes, if you are planning to write the certification exam, these questions are very important. So yes, Varun, you are correct. Two things are controlled by the GL account group. Number one is this number range, and number two is this field status. So whenever you will be creating a GL account, which field is mandatory, which field is optional, it is based on the field status which you have assigned to the account group. Okay, again, no change. I was just testing just to make sure that whenever you are writing the exam, at least you are aware of all these terms. Okay, so this is, I'm just creating two account groups, one for balance sheet, second for profit and loss. Normally, whatever number of account groups you can create, it depends upon your customer's requirements, right? So let's say this is from 300 to 499. Okay, so I'm trying to make a number logic. Starting with 1 are my assets, starting with 2 are my liabilities, starting with 3 are my revenues, and starting with 4 are my expenses. Okay, this is just the number range which I want to use. It doesn't mean that each and every company will use the same logic. Logics are different for each company. Okay, there is one new thing in account group. There is nothing new in this screen, but we need to create another account group which we never created in SAP ECC. And that is for secondary cost elements. Normally for secondary cost elements, we don't need to create any we don't need to create any account groups. Why? Because secondary cost elements were not created in FI. Secondary cost elements were only created in controlling. Now, because cost element is merged with FI, with GL, that is the reason even a secondary cost element has to be created as a GL. In ECC, we were only creating the GLs for primary cost elements. Or in other ways, we were only creating the GLs for the primary cost elements. For secondary cost elements, there was no GL. But now, even if you want to create a secondary cost element, it has to be created as a GL because there is no distinction now between GL account and cost element. It is one and the same thing. Okay, so normally secondary cost elements we create with 9. So I will provide this number range from 900 to 999. Okay, any question? You understood why I created this SC? Okay, we will see when we will create the GLs.
Hello.
Yes, Akash.
Sir, is it compulsory to create secondary cost GL?
Yes, so see, if you want to create a secondary cost element, it has to be created as a GL. There is no, see, in ECC, secondary cost elements were created in controlling. Okay, but now in SAP S4HANA, cost elements and GLs are merged, which means whenever you want to create a secondary cost element, it has to be created as a GL only. There is no other option.
Okay.
Okay, so let's click on save. I think I already saved it. And the last one is define the retained earning account. So there is no change. Okay, so I hope everyone is experienced, so you know what is a what is a retained earning account. So I'm just providing this X and I'm keeping the account blank as of now. Maybe later on we will enter this information. If you are getting this warning message, just ignore, press enter and click on OK. Okay, so we completed the configuration which is required from the chart of account perspective. Any question on chart of accounts? So basically two changes. One is when we create a chart of account, there is no field for whether it is manual cost element or automatic cost element. And second is when we are creating the account groups, we have to create a separate account group for secondary cost elements also. Okay, and now let's go to the posting period variant. Okay, so I'll go to financial accounting global settings, ledgers, fiscal year and posting periods. And here posting periods define variants for open posting periods. So 1, 2, 3 same activities even in SAP ECC. Let's see what is the difference. So if I define variants, let's say if I want to click on new entry, and again I'm keeping it same SF01. So this is SF01 and let's click on save. Okay, and second activity is assign the variants to the company code. So let's assign SF01 to the variant SF01 and save it. Okay, and the third one is open and close posting periods. So our posting period variant is SF01. Okay, and let's click on new entries. Can you tell me what is the difference that you are able to find here? First of all, when I clicked on open and close posting period variants, earlier in SAP ECC, it was not asking you for the selection criteria to specify the posting period variant. Okay, so this is not a functionality change, this is just a look and feel, right? So posting period variant, it is asking you here itself. If you don't want to provide, just click on maintain all. So this is a screen that we were able to see in SAP ECC. Okay, now if I don't want to maintain everything from scratch, normally in ECC also what we were doing is, we were copying it from one of the standard variant which is available from SAP. Okay, and we were clicking on copy as, and here we just need to provide the actual data. Okay, so perfectly fine because 2019 is open, we don't need to worry about this. So the posting period variant, the account type, from account to account, from period, from year to year, authorization group, from period to year, period 3 year to period 3 year. Are you finding anything new here? Is this the same thing that was available in ECC? Any change in this scheme? How many period intervals were available in ECC? These are period intervals, right? 1, 2, 3. How many period intervals are available in ECC?
Only
It
two
was
only.
2, yeah.
There were only 2, right? Period interval 1, period interval 2. There was period interval 3 was not available in SAP ECC. This one. This is completely new in SAP S/4HANA, and that too we started I think from 1610 onwards. So if you are working on SAP S/4HANA 1511, you may not be able to see this period interval 3. Now what is the purpose of period interval 3? The purpose of period interval 3 is, in SAP ECC, FI and CO component were independent components. Okay, so if I want to open the period for FI, I was going to transaction OB52, right? This is OB52 screen where I can open the period for financial accounting. But if I want to open the period for controlling, do you remember which transaction we were using to open the period only for controlling? Where can I go and close and open the period for controlling? Anyone?
I think we don't use, right, because it is
That's
controlling the cost elements will be created from GL accounts.
no, but what was the T code for opening the periods in controlling?
Okay, P1.
Okay, P1, right?
P1.
If you go to OK P1, this was the screen which was allowing you to open and close the posting period for controlling. So let's say if I go for SF01, so we have still not created any controlling area, right? So let's say for 0001, if I go for fiscal year 2018, if I go for version 0, okay, and let's click on actual. Okay, so this was a place where we were able to open and close the posting periods. Although you are able to see this, but actual period lock will not be handled from here. So even if you lock all or even if you keep it open, it is not going to make any difference in SAP S/4HANA because the actual period control for controlling is going to be controlled via this third interval. So this third interval is going to control only controlling related postings, which are not coming from FI. So normally in controlling, there are two kinds of postings. The postings which are coming through FI and the postings which are directly posted in controlling, right? So now the postings which are coming from controlling, they will be managed by this third period interval. Okay, plant data still OK P1. So if you want to go for the plant information, you will still be able to use this plant period control. But when it comes to actual data, it will not go into OKP1. It will check whether the period is open or not from this screen. Okay, so that is a change in the period control. One of the very important question in the exam: how many period intervals do you have in posting period variant? So earlier there were only 2. Now there are 3.
Faradani, I have one question out here.
Yes.
In this case, isn't it? It should be mandatory because in our project also we are not maintaining the third period till CO works. So is it? It will go
No,
and check. Okay,
if it is
period
not
1 and 2.
maintained, if it is not maintained, just means everything is open.
Okay.
Yes.
But is it that it will compare with period 1 and 2 and then 3? No, is it not that way?
No. Period 3 is completely independent of the other periods.
Okay.
Yes.
But Gaurav,
Okay. Yes, Sandeep.
yes, but when we are posting any document in FI and which has a impact on CO also, that time it should the sync, right? Posting period open.
That time it will not check here. It will check here because your postings are coming from FI to CO.
Okay.
Normally, CO period is checked only when you are posting the secondary postings in the controlling module. So that was considered as OKP1 till now. In OKP1, it was going and checking whether the period is open or not. But now it will not go to OKP1, it will just come here. Okay, I don't think even the description they maintain. Let's see if we are able to get some description here. Now this posting period interval 3 specifies the open and close posting periods for postings from controlling to FI. Okay, so reverse direction. Normally postings go from FI to CO, which is the normal case, this one. But this one is the postings that you are making in controlling, those are coming to FI. So then in that case, it will check here. Have you understood, or you want me to give an example? Let me just select all this and okay, let's go from here to here. So see, in FI, let's say you are trying to post in period 10. Okay, now when you enter period 10, system will go and check in CO whether this period 10 is open or not. Okay, so it will go into FI as well as it will go into the CO. Okay, so in case of FI, I am talking about ECC as of now. Okay, so in ECC, what was happening? In FI, you are trying to post in period 10. So system will first check whether that is open in OB52. So here it will check in OB52 and here it will check in OKP1. Similarly, if the posting is coming from CO to FI, so again period 10 will be first checked, is it open or not in OKP1, and then it will check in FI whether the period 10 is open or not. But now in SAP S/4HANA, okay, so this was going to OB52. Now when we are talking about SAP S/4HANA, if you are posting anything in FI, let me tell you one more scenario here. So sometimes you are making the postings only to CO. There are some postings which will not flow to FI, and there are some postings which will flow from CO to FI. So let's say if you are making the postings only in CO, in that case it will just go and check in OKP1. Okay, it has nothing to do with OB52 in that case. Now let's say for example in SAP S/4HANA, somebody is trying to post in FI. So this is same. This will still go in FI and check in OKP1 for CO. But when the postings are coming from CO to FI, when the postings are coming from CO to FI, so instead of OKP1, okay, it will go and check in OB52. So in CO it will still check in OKP1, but this one, which was earlier not relevant at all, it will go to OB52. And the third scenario, which is CO, which is taking in OKP1, so this was not affecting anything in FI, and that is the reason FI tables were not getting impacted. But now in SAP S/4HANA, because we have AC doc A, and AC doc A is containing CO plus FI both. So whatever postings you make in CO, they will definitely come back to FI because there is a common table, and that is the reason that has to be checked in OB52 using this third interval. Was my explanation clear, or there was some confusion? If you want me to explain once again.
No, it's clear.
Yeah. So mainly this is only applicable for the postings which you are making from CO to FI. Okay, if the postings are going from FI to CO, no need to worry, it will still take the OKP1. But if you are making the postings from CO to FI, then definitely you have to consider this OB52, not OKP1. Because earlier the postings were not coming to FI. When you are making the postings only in CO, it has nothing to do with FI, and that is the reason we were not maintaining anything in OB52. But now, whenever you will be making the postings only to CO, then also because there is a common table and FI and CO are no two separate components anymore, that's the reason we also need to open the period in FI. And for opening that, we are using the interval number 3. Okay, any questions on this? So this, to answer your question, Priyanka, if you are not maintaining this, so system will not assume. I was telling you, system will assume that the period is open. That is not the case. System will go and check here if that period is open or not. Okay, let me give the
Okay.
one last scenario. Currently, the FI periods are open from 1 of 1998 to 12 of 2019. Now, let's say you are trying to post anything in 2020. So, although this posting you want to post in only CO, you just want to change the CO objects. Okay, so it has nothing to do with OB52 if it is ECC. But now, because it is SAP S/4HANA and whatever postings you make in CO, it will automatically flow into AC docket table, which is a common table. And that is the reason in FI also we need to open that period. So if 2020 is not open here, you will get an error. It will not allow you to make those postings. So what you have to do, not here, you can make the entry here for 2020.
Correct. Right.
Okay.
So it will first check the period in table 3. If not, then 1, 2, depending. If it is only a CO posting.
Yes. Other thing, see, why will you not change here? Let's say if you want to make the postings in CO and it is asking you to open the posting in FI, why will you not come here directly and make it 20 instead of creating this new interval? If
It
you
will be
make it
dangerous
open,
otherwise. Yeah.
yes, only difference is if you make it open here, then FI postings are also allowed in this period, which you don't want, which you want only the CO postings, which can come to FI in 2020, but normal FI
Correct.
postings is restricted to 2019.
Agreed. Correct. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so click on apply and let's click on, yeah, sorry, I need to change this to SF01, SF01. Okay, let's try to save this. Okay, otherwise everything is same. So now we have the global parameters assigned to our company code. So if I go back and see in global parameters for SF01, you will be able to see the fiscal year variant, you will be able to see the chart of account, field status, and also posting period variant. Okay, let's go to the next one now. Now let's talk about very important topic of ledgers. Okay, so before I start the ledger concept in SAP, what exactly is ledger and how were the ledgers created in SAP ECC and all those things, can you tell me what exactly are ledgers? Why do we need ledgers in SAP? Let's make this session very interactive because this is the most important topic in Simple Finance or S/4HANA Finance. Okay, so make sure that you are getting best out of this session. So why do we need ledgers in SAP? Can you tell me?
It's a different books depending upon my accounting principle. So if I am a global organization and I have to submit reports depending on different accounting principle, I need different ledgers. So this due to which we had multiple ledgers. Yeah.
We need to maintain as US gap as well as local gap. That's why we maintain ledgers.
So for example, if I want to see the balance sheet and profit and loss according to India GAAP, I should go to this particular ledger, and if I want to see the reporting in terms of IFRS, I can go to this set of books. Okay, so whether this particular functionality was available in classic GL accounting or not, in classic GL accounting, can we achieve this? If you want this scenario, can I configure this scenario in SAP classic GL accounting?
From my point of view, yes, we use special purpose ledger that time.
Exactly. So in classic GL accounting, to report this requirement, we use special purpose ledger. Okay, we were using special purpose ledger. But when you go to, when SAP came up with new GL accounting, they came up with the concept of
Parallel ledger.
parallel ledgers, yes, non-leading ledgers, okay, which are also called as parallel ledgers. Okay, what do you mean by parallel ledgers? So, which means there will be only one leading ledger, right? There will be only one leading ledger. So in that case, let's say we are using the leading ledger for India GAAP. Okay, again, it depends upon us. It is not necessary that we will be using leading ledger for IFRS or we will be using the leading ledger for India GAAP. But you have to be very clear. Whenever you are creating a ledger, you have to specify this ledger you are using for India GAAP or you are using for IFRS. Okay, and in addition, we can create multiple non-leading ledgers. Okay, you can create multiple non-leading ledgers. So let's say, for example, in this case, IFRS will be our non-leading ledger. Okay, so now let's say in SAP ECC, we were able to create these two ledgers. Now, anyone remembers what are the different fields? Let's say if I want to create a ledger, what were the different fields in that screen? There was a ledger, there was a ledger description, okay, whether it is a leading ledger or non-leading ledger, right? There was a tick mark, and last one was totals table. Okay, I don't have ECC as of now to show you, but if you want to see, you can open your SAP ECC screen and go to the ledger settings. In the ledger setting, you will be able to see the ledger number, which is a 2-character key, alphanumeric, description. This is the tick box, whether it is a leading ledger or not, and what is the totals table. So for example, the settings that you have for 0L, okay, SAP always provide one standard leading ledger, which is 0L. Okay, this is called as leading ledger. The description is leading ledger. Okay, this is yes, it is a leading ledger, so that tick is active, and the totals table is Faggle FlexT. Right, this is a setting that we have in standard delivered system. Now, if I want to configure IFRS, what we do is we create a ledger with 2-digit alphanumeric key. Let's say this is IF, and we can call it as maybe IFRS or whatever description is up to us, whatever we want to give. This is not a leading ledger, so no leading ledger, and the total tables normally is same, Faggle FlexT. Okay, any question here? I'm just explaining the ECC. I still not started anything on S4HANA. Prashant, are you there? Prashant, can you hear us? Yes, Prashant is, sorry, I was not looking at the chat screen. So you are active on chat, but passive on vocal. Okay, no problem. So these were the different kind of ledgers that we were creating in SAP ECC. So this was a screen, there were only 4 columns there. But now if you see this thing in SAP S4HANA, the way of creating the ledgers and all is completely changed. So if you go to financial accounting global settings, go to ledgers, ledger, and these are the 3 things which are available now. Okay, let me see if I can connect to ECC system. I don't think so. Just give me a minute. Let me see if I can show you the ECC. Then the comparison becomes easy. Taking a lot of time. ECC we don't have here also. Anyone who can share the ECC screen, if you have the ECC screen in front of you, if I give you the presentation rights, can you share that screen? Sandbox, not your actual customer screen, please. If you have any sandbox system which you can share. If not, I have to show you tomorrow. Anyone can share or not? Okay, forget. If not, maybe I'll show you the screen tomorrow. So normally when you go to this ledger settings, there are a lot of other settings here. Okay, so define settings for ledgers and currency types. These are actually two different things. There is define ledger and define the currencies for the leading ledger. These are the two different things which are available in SAP ECC. Now those things are merged into one single transaction. So if you click on define settings for ledgers and currency types, this is a completely new screen. This kind of screen was not available in SAP ECC at all. Okay. So on the left hand side, you can see these options. Again, these were never available. This screen is to create a ledger. So there are few fields which are same, like ledger, ledger name, and leading ledger or not. So if you see this ledger description, leading ledger or not, but totals table is no more available here. System is not asking you to provide a totals table, but there are a lot of new things here. Okay, ledger type, extension ledger type, underlying ledger, valuation view, manual postings allowed or not. So there are a lot of new things which are available for the first time. Okay, so as I told you, SAP always provides the leading ledger 0L available in the standard system. Okay, you can see this leading ledger 0L. You cannot have more than one leading ledgers available in the system. Okay, again, a very important question from the certification exam point of view. What is the maximum number of ledgers, or can we have multiple ledgers as leading ledger in SAP system? Answer is straightforward, no. Okay, and then you have a ledger type. So you have a ledger type standard and you have a ledger type extension. There are two ledger types available. When SAP started Simple Finance in 2015, this extension ledger was called as appendix ledger. So appendix ledger and extension ledger, these are one and the same thing. Okay, so if in the interview somebody is asking you what is appendix ledger, it is one and the same thing, that is the extension ledger. Okay, so what is the extension ledger? In SAP ECC, all the ledgers that we were creating, even if you are using usual accounting, all the ledgers that we were creating were standard ledgers. There was no extension ledger available in SAP ECC. This extension ledger is a new concept which started with Simple Finance. Okay, and what is extension ledger? Extension ledger is also providing you the same features, almost same features. I'll not say each and everything. There are some restrictions, But the whole idea is if you have a requirement for different accounting principles, so if you want to create a non-leading ledger, so in this case I told you we will create a non-leading ledger as IF. So this IF can be created as standard or it can be created as an extension ledger. The benefit of extension ledger is memory consumption is too low compared to the standard ledger. Okay, so what will happen is when you use the extension ledger, it will save you a lot of space in the memory. Okay, so as of now, you may not be able to understand because we need to do some transactions in order to understand how extension ledger behaves. But as of now, just remember that there are two types of ledgers. One is a standard ledger, second is the extension ledger. The whole purpose of extension ledger is to save the database memory. Okay, but now with SAP S/4HANA 1809, now what I'm showing you, this is something new which you will not find even in 1709. There is something called as, again within extension ledger types, there are some new options available like prediction and commitments, simulation and valuation. In 1709, although this extension ledger type was available, but there were only two types, extension ledger and simulation. This prediction and commitments and valuations are brought for the first time. Okay, again, so as of now, just remember, if you are selecting the extension ledger, you have to also specify what is the type of this extension ledger. Whether it is a normal extension ledger or it is a prediction and commitment ledger or simulation or valuation. We will see the scenarios for all four. Okay, so extension ledger is common, which you will be seeing in the by next or maybe next to next class. But prediction, simulation, valuation, this we will see towards the end. Okay, because these are related to the month-end reportings and all. So we will talk about this one later on. Coming to the underlying ledger, every extension ledger will need an underlying ledger. You cannot create extension ledger without the underlying ledger. Okay, again, if I explain you what is underlying ledger, it will not make sense till the time you don't do the transaction. So maybe tomorrow we will do some transactions and you will be able to understand it completely. What is the underlying ledger? Why we need an extension ledger? What are the benefits of extension ledger and all those things? Let's go to the valuation view. Now, whenever you are using different accounting principles, you can specify here whether you are going to use the legal valuation for that or a group valuation or a profit center valuation. This is just an optional thing. It is not going to make any difference. This is just for the reporting purpose. If you want to tell your auditors that my leading ledger is for my legal valuation and my non-leading ledger is for my group valuation or profit center valuation. Okay, so this is not a mandatory field. And the last one is manual postings not allowed. So whether you want to allow the manual postings to non-leading extension ledgers. Okay, so you can see this option is not available for standard ledgers. In standard ledgers, manual postings is always allowed. Manual postings are always allowed. But when it comes to the extension ledger, we can block the manual postings. Okay, so manual postings will not be allowed. The postings will only come from the underlying ledger. Okay, so this complete thing, I don't think you will be able to understand without doing the transaction. Just remember 2-3 things, just 2-3 takeaways from here is, number one, no total stable. Okay, you don't need to provide a total stable. Number two, new type of ledger, that is extension ledger. Okay, so extension ledger, which was not available in ECC. Again, within extension ledger, there are 4 types of extension ledgers. Okay, so normal, you have simulation. These 2 were available in 1610, 1709 also. Predictive and valuation. Okay, so even if you are writing 1709 exam, don't expect this predictive and valuation there. Okay, if you are writing 1809 exam, maybe after 2-3 months when SAP come up with 1809 exam, then if they are asking the question, what are the 4 types of extension ledgers, you need to remember this. Okay, 4th point, extension ledger always need an underlying ledger. Without underlying ledger, you cannot create an extension ledger. Okay, so just remember this 4-5 points now. When we will see the scenarios, we will be able to understand completely what are this type of ledgers. Okay, so let's go back again. Okay, and now let's click on one. Let's say, for example, I want to see the settings for leading ledger, that is 0L. Why it is not? Yeah, so I ticked on this and click on company code settings. Okay, just avoid these messages. These are just the warning messages. Click on OK. And you can see this company codes here. So it is showing you which company codes are assigned to leading ledger. So if I go for my company code, which is SF01, you can see for SF01, this company code is assigned to the leading ledger. Okay, but if I go for any other ledger, let's say if I go for B1 and click on company code settings, it is not showing our company code. Have we assigned our company code to leading ledger? We never assigned, right? But still, SF01 is available in the leading ledger. Why? Because leading ledger will be applicable for all the company codes by default. Okay, so whatever leading ledger you are creating, it will be always assigned to your company code. Non-leading ledgers, you have to decide whether you want to use it for a particular company code or not. But leading ledger will be always assigned to each and every company code. Just remember that leading ledger will be always assigned to each and every company code. So if I go back and show you the settings for the leading ledger in this company code settings. Okay, so these are different company codes. And if I click on position for company code SF01, now here you can see system is showing you which fiscal year variant is assigned and which posting period variant is assigned. And currently it is showing you only one currency because we just assigned default currency. Okay, even we are not assigned this, but this is a default currency, which is INR. When we created a company code, we specified our company code currency is INR. So in SAP ECC, in addition to your company code currency, how many currencies we were able to assign? What are the maximum number of currencies that we were able to assign to our company code?
3 company code, 3 currencies.
3, 1 plus 2, right? So one is your company code currency and 2 parallel currencies.
Yes.
Now in this SAP S/4HANA system, if you keep on adding the currencies, just keep on pressing this plus button, it will allow you up to 8 parallel currencies in addition to the company code currency. So plus, 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 plus. Okay, you can see now it is stopped. So 8 parallel currencies can be assigned. Okay, you can decide what would be the currency type. So for example, if in ECC you must remember hard currency, index currency. So those kind of currencies you can create and you can assign. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. So let me just try to delete this first to avoid confusion. Okay, so just remember one more thing, there can be 1 plus 8 currencies which can be assigned to your company code. Okay, and one is your company code currency, and there is also something called as global currency. What is this global currency now? This global currency means your controlling area currency. So we are still not assigned our company code to controlling area. Once we assign our company code to controlling area, whatever would be our controlling area currency, that will come here. as a global currency, and that is the reason you don't have any option of specifying this. You cannot input it. Okay, it will come automatically when you create a controlling area. Okay, and the last thing for today, maybe we will stop here because this topic is very important and I don't want to be very fast on this. So whatever ledgers you create, as I told you, whenever you will be creating the ledgers, so you are creating two ledgers here, let's say 0L. So 0L is for what? 0L is for India GAAP, and IFRS is for IF is for IFRS, right? How will you tell the system that this is my India GAAP and this is my IFRS? In order to tell the system which ledger is used for what purpose, you have to assign your ledger to the accounting principles. Okay, so this is a place where you can assign that leading ledger 0L for company code SF01 means this particular accounting principle. So just click on new entries and you can select the accounting principle from the list of values. You can also create your own accounting principles. These are just text. It doesn't mean that if I assign the accounting principle to my ledger, automatically it will follow that accounting principle. No, these are just the text. You have to make those settings accordingly. Okay, so for example, my 0L is India GAAP and I am not able to find India GAAP here. So what I need to do, I need to go to the configuration for creating the accounting principles first. So I'll come back completely out of the screen. Come out of this also. Back. No changes. Okay, and here in ledgers itself, you will be able to see this parallel accounting. So click on parallel accounting and this is a place where you can create an accounting principle. So click on new or click on execute and click on new. And let's say this is nothing but IND, which means India GAAP. Okay, and click on save. Now next time, if you go to assigning the accounting principles to your ledgers, so I want to assign 0L for company code SF01. Just a minute, why it is not appearing? Our company code was SF01, right? And where is it gone? Let's go back completely. 0L, company code settings. Some bug in the system, definitely, because SF01 is gone because we have not saved it. But this is a bug. Okay, normally for any company code, 0L ledger must be always there. If it is not there, then definitely there is something wrong. Okay, and the other problem is we cannot create a new entry here, I think, because this is something which is automatic. You don't need to create it. So what is the option now? To see SF01 here. Let's try to log off and log in again. Ledger define settings. Now it is coming. So that was a definite bug. Okay, so just click on this, go to accounting principle, click on new entries, and now we will be able to see this IND which we just now created. So you can select this and just save. So we are telling the system that for accounting principle IND, that is nothing but India GAAP, we are using this main ledger 0L. And for IFRS, okay, so for IFRS, what I have to do is I have to go for another ledger Let's see if IF is already created, otherwise we'll create that. Okay, so IF is not created here. Let's create a new ledger. So this is IF, ledger name is IFRS. This is not a leading ledger, and as of now I don't want to create an extension ledger, so I'll go for standard ledger. If it is a standard ledger, I don't need to provide any underlying ledger. This is optional. You can just skip this and click on save. Okay, so you will get this message. Ledger group IF is created only with ledger IF. Just click on continue. Okay, so ledger group is created. Even the ledger is created. So if I go for IF for company code settings, as of now, this ledger is not assigned to any company code. So if I want to add my company code, I have to click on new entry, SF01. I have to provide the fiscal year variant, which is V3. Now your non-leading ledger can be assigned to different fiscal year variant. Your leading ledger will take a fiscal year variant from your company code, but your non-leading ledger can be assigned to any other fiscal year variant also. Let's go for posting period variant, which is SF01. Okay, press enter. It will automatically pick this currency type. Just click on save. And finally, just go to accounting principle and tell the system that we are using ledger IF in company code SF01 to serve the purpose of IFRS reporting. Okay, any questions till now?
Sir, please open company code settings.
Sorry,
Please open company code settings.
company code.
No, no,
Global
no.
settings. Global
No,
settings.
sir. Last you exit, please this
Okay.
screen.
Okay, okay. So 0L company code settings. Yes. Yes, Akash. Shall I double click?
And last you, I have assigned to this Indian gap. Please open this screen.
Okay, so I'll go to accounting principle.
Because I can see the parallel GL account. Tick.
Yes, yes,
Is the
yeah,
use
that
of
tick
this.
is, yes, that tick is here. If you double click on this one, parallel accounting
Yes.
using G. Okay, so let me explain this tick. See, in even in SAP ECC also, if you want to have to, if you want to have the reporting on two accounting principles, let's say IFRS and India GAAP, that is a requirement that we have currently, right? If you want to have the reporting for IFRS and India GAAP, there are two options in SAP. Okay, so let me write it here so that everybody is following. So parallel accounting, what is parallel accounting? Parallel accounting means you want to report in multiple accounting principles. Now, as I told you, in classic GL accounting, SAP has the option of special purpose ledger, right? We can use the special purpose ledger and we can create different ledgers. In new GL accounting, we have ledger concept. Okay, non-leading ledger, leading ledger. Okay, so let's say non-leading ledger concept. What about before classic GL accounting, when there was no special purpose ledger? Okay, so currently if we have parallel accounting requirement for IFRS and the India GAAP, If you are using classic GL accounting, we can create special purpose ledger. If you are using new GL accounting, we can use a non-leading ledger concept. But before SAP came up with this special purpose ledger, do you know what was the option? The option was called as account-based approach. What do you mean by account-based approach? Account-based approach means there was only one ledger. Okay, separate GLs were created for India GAAP and IFRS. Okay, so if you want to know the report for IFRS, use this GL accounts in your reporting. So for example, let's say my furniture, which is my asset. In GAAP, I want to show in India GAAP, I want to show the total gross block of 10,000. Okay, let's say this is my GL account 100001. Okay, and in same GL account 100001 with same description furniture, but for IFRS, let's say I want to show 20, sorry, not 20, that is not, there is not much difference. So let's say 10,000 or maybe 11,000. So if I want to generate the India GAAP report, in this GL, I should be, or the furniture should be for 10,000. But for IFRS, it should be 11,000. Okay, so if we have a ledger concept, we have these two different ledgers, right? India GAAP is a separate ledger and IFRS is a separate ledger. So I can use the same GL, but based on the ledger, system will tell me whether it is 10,000 or 11,000. But now consider an example, if I don't have these two ledgers at all, if I don't have these two ledgers, what I have to do, I have to create two separate GLs. Okay, so for furniture India GAAP, 10,000, for furniture IFRS, 11,000. So whenever I am preparing a report, whenever I am doing the balance sheet profit and loss, what we will do in that case is, in that case, if I want to generate the report for India GAAP, I will consider this GL account. And if I want to consider the report or want to generate the report for IFRS, I will consider this another GL account. So this is called as account-based approach, where you are creating different accounts to do the parallel reporting. Nowadays, what we are using is called as ledger-based approach. In ledger-based approach, there is only one GL, but the ledgers are different, right? So even in SAP S/4HANA, you can use account-based approach. If you want to use account-based approach, you have to take this indicator, parallel accounting using GL accounts, which means if I want to follow IFRS as well as India GAAP, I will be creating only one ledger, that is 0L, and I will be telling the system that this 0L is used for multiple accounting principles. So I'm using parallel accounting using different GL accounts, which means if I save this and if I go for accounting principles, here I can assign multiple accounting principles. So same ledger 0L I am using for India GAAP also and IFRS also. Okay, if I want to use account-based approach, if I want to use only one GL for all my reporting requirements, then only I will take this indicator, parallel accounting using GL accounts. Akash, have you understood? Others
Yes,
also?
sir.
Mahesh, any question? Prashant, Priyanka?
No, it was very nice.
Tick, parallel accounting using GL accounts. Okay, so if you understood this, maybe we can close today and we'll meet tomorrow with other details. We need to create a controlling area. There also I'll show you what are the changes and then proceed with the master data. So master data also you'll find most of the changes. And then I think on day after tomorrow's session, we'll be able to carry out the transactions, where you'll be able to see how the transactions in appendix ledgers are different compared to the standard ledger. Okay, thank you all. If you have any questions, please go ahead. Otherwise, we can stop.
No questions from my side.
Okay. Okay then. Thank you all. Tomorrow, same time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.